Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Show. We're your host, Ryan Kelly.
And I'm Eric Shaver.
And we are here with a special guest. Brad is our parts manager at Beaver Coach Sales and Service. He's been here for about 2 months now and is a great fit. We discovered in about 10 minutes after the first couple jokes back and forth that he's going to
fit right in.
He's going to fit in great. Yeah. We've gone golfing with him a couple times, and it's fun. It's going to work out. But what we like about Brad is he knows his stuff when it comes to the RV industry, the parts world. This whole podcast, we're going to dive into a little bit about his experience as a technician, now as a parts manager, and what the industry looks like, how it's changed, how it's growing, and where it's headed. So, with that, I hope you enjoy our episode with Brad from Beaver Coach Sales and Service, Parts Department.
The Real Estate Show.
The Real Estate Show. Welcome to the Real Estate Show, brought to you by the top 50 dealer Beaver Coach Sales with your hosts, Ryan Kelly
and Eric Shaver. If you're here to learn about all things RV, you're in the right place. In this podcast, we sit down with people who build, buy, and sell RVs to bring you an in-depth look at the RV lifestyle.
Right on. Well, thank you, Brad, for joining our show today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. For those of you at home wondering who's Brad, Brad is our new parts manager, and he's been with us how long?
2 months now.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's that been going?
It's just flown by. It's really great.
So share with us a little bit about your background, how you started in the industry, and what got you here.
It got me here and I started about 15 years ago, a little mom and pop shop here in town, and when I was 20, needed a job, and ad came up for an RV mechanic, and thought I'd jump on that. Seemed easy at the time.
And was it?
It was not. It was the exact opposite, but it was a interesting challenge, and jobs up to that point, it was like 9 to 5 assembly line. Every day was the exact same, and working with RVs, what a really cool part was every day was different. One day you're a carpenter, one day you're a plumber, one day you're an electrician, and it kept it interesting. You always learn something new. The industry is always evolving, so you have to keep up with that, and it never gets boring. Sometimes stressful, sometimes not, but it kept you coming back every day, and I just enjoyed it and wanted to do better at it, and that was a continuing, as being a mechanic, and then learning about parts and just jumping in and learning dealer software and helping customers on the phone, which evolved into a desk job, and kind of bounced up to different dealerships, and here I am.
Here you are. So getting into parts, you started with being a mechanic. What made the transition? Was it more of a desire to be in that role, or?
Not really. It's just kind of like one day just sitting at the counter waiting to be helped myself, and just noticing a couple of customers in the store that needed to be helped, and hey, what can I do to help you find what you need, and just kind of evolved from there, and it was fun. You're helping people get what they need, and sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not so fun. Nobody's happy when they break things, but
no.
It was kind of not by accident, but just kind of jumped in and went, hey, this is kind of cool. I want to learn more about this. So.
Well, and you mentioned that the industry is constantly evolving, and no 2 days looks exactly the same. And I had a conversation just last week with Sean about that too, how what keeps him coming back and us coming back every single day is like every day is completely new. Similar RVs, similar parts, similar, so on and so forth. But it's just new challenges, new opportunities. There's new nuances with new product that rolls in. So some days you just have happy customer after happy customer, and we're able to, provide. We have the part in stock, or maybe we got the last one of this, and we're able to save the day. Or there's other times where we're 6 months out on that part, and you've experienced a little bit of that heat. But since being here, obviously you've been in the same parts sector of the industry, but how has working at Beaver Coach Sales been different than places you've been in the past?
Different as far as being in the motorized and the big coaches is a different, mainly been towables up until this point, or just small gas coaches. So that's a different challenge, is trying to find chassis parts, and which is difficult in today's day and age. But learning all about that, and then being part of the Beaver network, is phone calls daily of the, it's hard to say vintage on 20-year-old units, but 90s motorhomes, and people need help, and they're still beautiful, well-built motorhomes, but finding parts for those is a challenge, because one, a lot of them are proprietary and made, which are now obsolete, and it's kind of hard to tell somebody that, but others you just kind of have to dig in and research and find out who's got what that'll make it work, and that's a challenge. And again, kind of makes every day great. A little stressful, but it's not routine. One day you're looking for brake pads, the next day you're looking for a vent lid. It's every day's different, helping a different customer, and most of them are pretty happy that you're helping them too.
Yeah. We were talking the other day, and it's interesting because Ryan brought up a great point. There's a lot of people that think that you can find the part on Amazon, and that that you think you can find that specific part. In your experience, why is it more important to have somebody like in your role helping people find parts?
One, I think a lot of people, anybody can shop online, and I think what 2020 exposed was we lived in a very on-demand world that came to a screeching halt. And people threw temper tantrums because they couldn't get their part in 2 days. Turned into 6 months. But I think the value of having a dealership that you can trust to source your parts is you're not only getting the part you need, most likely it's the correct part the first time. And it comes with a little more information, if you will. Well, this will replace what you have, but this is what you're going to have to do to make it work. Or this is completely different and this needs to be changed as well, or this is why you're replacing all of these components. So you're not going to get a lot of that out of a online retailer that's mainly drop shipping from the manufacturer of the goods. So there's value in using a dealership because you're getting support out of it as well.
Yeah, and you're getting the right, like you said, the right part the first time. I know I've had plenty of projects and project vehicles that I've gotten the wrong parts 17 different times for, and that just extends the entire process. But we were talking about it, these are such unique vehicles. I mean, every single one of them is going to have its nuances, and to be able to find that part the first time, and like you said, figure out, oh, it's not just that part you need, you're going to need to do this or go here.
Right.
That's I think super valuable in our industry, especially with how extravagant some of these big rigs are.
And you find out too, there's a lot of people who, even just going from one model year to the next, you might have, in 2019 we experienced a big shift in digital dashes on RVs and just different chassis setup like you talked about. And then in 2020 a couple other chassis kind of followed suit. So from model year to model year there could be significant changes in parts necessity and just the layout and design. I mean, they just switched in this 2021 Newmar that we're in now. They just switched over to this digital touchscreen as opposed to the analog buttons on it. So with that, you're gonna have new parts, new components, a new brain for this, and everything connected to that. How are you staying on top of how much the industry is evolving and adapting?
Well, I think that's just the customer or the service is almost to credit for that, because they're keeping you on your toes. It's saying, hey, I have this brand new coach and now it has this part that's extremely difficult to locate. And as you said, these rigs change model year to model year, sometimes within the same year, and you'll have revisions of the serial number of the coach. Like up until this point they used this piece of trim, whereas down the road they switched for whatever purpose. And what's hard is sometimes, even though that rig is 2-3 years old, the original part is obsolete. And now it's, again, looking for the part that will replace that, and this is why you need multiple components or whatever. But it's customers can be credited to the fact that you're knowledgeable about the new product because they're the ones that are requesting it. And it's knowing your resources to go and search out that part and find out what's the easiest way to get it. How do I get my customer back on the road? And
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, that brings up
Same with sales.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about that as you're talking. One thing that I've found with a lot of my customers.
I was listening while you were talking, Brad.
that's great.
I was gone. But so one thing a lot of my customers have experienced is a lack of understanding of the warranty process, which, you know, at some point falls on me too. I should explain that better. But so I can know better how to tell my customers. One thing that I found interesting is oftentimes on a warranty, you have to have that part. And or for example, you have to have the coach here before you can order that part.
Right.
Because that same coach can have 37 different versions of, you know, whatever that may be. Could you describe a little bit, like from a parts standpoint, what it looks like getting warranty work done and like what that process is?
So kind of like what you said, the coach has to be here because a lot of the times a customer will attempt to self-diagnose issues, mainly because they're on the Google or, you know, the Google.
Oh yeah.
Is that a plug?
They're on the line.
Is that a plug?
Is that a plug for Google? They need it. They're hurting right now.
Or they're
No,
blogging,
sure.
or, you know, they think they have pinpointed their issues because 2 people out of 100,000 have the same issue. So getting the coach here and having a certified technician diagnose the problem to find out how to fix it correctly the first time is important, because getting parts here can be a challenge. But it's, you know, rig comes in, it has an issue. Manufacturer needs to know about the issue and authorize the repair needed, and then the parts go into the queue. A challenge of getting parts is some appliances, some fixtures are difficult to get a hold of, whether it's just supply or manufacturing issues as far as personnel. But a lot of, and looking around this coach, a lot of the things in this coach are made by the manufacturer, which means they don't have 50 cabinet doors laying around. It's when a dealer needs a cabinet door, they need to build it. So that means in between production, you know, they need a guy to help put out orders for some of these manufactured goods. So all of this kind of circles back to making sure you get the correct part the first time. The last thing you want to do is order a door and find out you got the wrong size door that took 6 to 8 weeks to get, and is going to take another 6 to 8 weeks to get. So having the customer here on the lot, inspected by a tech, authorized by the manufacturer, sending photos with your parts order, ensures that you're going to get correct parts, even though they will take a while. At least when it does show up, it'll be what the tech can use to get the rig back on the road.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One thing
Super good.
I've realized about our shop too is they do a good job of diagging what's wrong, and then because it might not be the whole component that needs to be replaced. It could just be, okay, this part of it isn't working, or it's an electrical side on this, or whatever. Have you seen in other dealerships you work at as a norm? Because I hear that this is kind of out there where just the default is replace the whole unit. Is they're not spending a lot of diag time really identifying what the issue is, or what's that look like?
Well, in my history, it's been, you know, some techs will say, oh, it needs this component, and other techs will say, oh, it needs this component, but technician A will say it needs this component because this failed, so I need to replace this as well. So there's a reason why this circuit board has failed. This is a reason why this cabinet door has shattered into pieces, or so absolutely. And the techs that I work around here daily kind of are more rounded to figure out, well, what caused that issue. That way it doesn't happen again. Last thing you need is a big coach coming back into the shop when you've got 30 other coaches behind it that are new issues. So fixing it right the first time, getting the parts right the first time, and making sure it doesn't come back is extremely important, especially today.
Yeah. That's something we always say, throwing parts at it, That's not always the right thing to do.
No.
Just throw parts at it.
Yeah, throwing parts at problems.
Yeah, exactly.
I've worked with a lot of techs that do that, and that's why there was a lot of techs that do that, because generally they're replaced by the techs that finish it the first time. But I've worked with a lot of good mechanics that, and you pick up from that as to, like, oh, it needs this. Well, why? There's always that why. What took this out? Why did this fail?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, it is what it is. A TV went out.
Yeah.
Piece of junk. But there's usually a reason why something failed, and that gets fixed as well. And that's just, it helps every department when that happens in that manner.
Definitely. We have a unique kind of set of challenges in this industry too, because everything's component based. Whereas, like, if you buy a Ford pickup, 95% of that thing is built by Ford at the Ford plant. It's obviously there's going to be some components that aren't, but with this you have so many different brands. Like, you've got a different brand for the TVs, you've got a different brand for the fridge, for the chassis, for the motor. For every single thing comes from a different vendor, and all of our manufacturers basically pull in a whole bunch of parts from different vendors. And like you said, this coach is unique because it has a lot of Newmar built stuff. But even still, you can look around and find probably 80 different vendors in this coach. Do you work directly with vendors, or do you work with just manufacturers, or how does that work in your role?
So, previous years, you could go through distribution and get 99% of the things you'd need. You could go to a small supplier and get all your appliance parts. You could go to another one and get all your hardware parts, and that worked out. What happens today is a lot of manufacturers go dealer direct, cutting out distribution so, we can get our parts faster. But when it comes to, like, warranty authorization, even though they used a component made by a third party, it still has to go through the manufacturer of the coach, so they would, pay for it. So it's understanding where you have to get the part and why, the reason for it. And that can be a challenge if you've got a coach down that, needs a leveling jack, but it's under warranty. The manufacturer might say, oh, you have to order it through us, which unfortunately is going to be 4 to 6 weeks. Or you could go through distribution and have it next day on your doorstep, but not get covered for the component. So that can be a challenge as well, in understanding what you need to do to get the part from the correct location, to take care of your customer. And that can be a challenge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Jeez.
We've seen that.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy year and a half.
Yeah, and it's hard to base anything on the last 15, 16 months because it's just not been...
It's an anomaly, yeah.
But I think in both the service and parts department, and I'm sure sales as well, there's going to be some dealers and some personnel that adapt and evolve from it. And then there's going to be some that kind of jump back into the same routine. And I think we're somebody that evolves to be better prepared for what's going to come up. It's helped service, add personnel and make sure they have people on site to take care of these coaches. It's helped parts stock the correct parts that, we need to keep on hand in case there's a shortage. And it's made your purchasing a little bit different, which is going to continue even when, supply is thriving.
Yeah.
So
it's made you have to adapt a little bit in your mindset and all that. We've been talking in the all hands meeting on Monday about the way that we react to situations and the way we adapt. And I've always liked to quote, the things that happen to you in your life can either defeat you, define you, or develop you. The choice is yours. And being able to develop through these issues that we're having with parts, issues that we're having with warranty claims, with everything else that's happening due to 2020 and now 2021, there's dealerships that are going to adapt and rise above, and there's dealerships that aren't, just like every other industry and every other field, which is part of why we got you on board, was you're someone who I'm going to call this out on this podcast in front of everyone, but you're someone who wants a challenge, who can adapt, and realizes that just because we've been doing something one way doesn't mean that that's the way that we should be doing it.
Right.
You know, looking for opportunities for our department to grow, for you to grow personally, to ultimately provide the best product for the customer, and get things in a timely manner that are correct, which, you know, is why we have you on the podcast right now. It's because this is the Wheel Estate Show, and we have people who are really industry leaders, which is what we consider you to be. You're a terrible golfer. That was so fun last Wednesday. But besides that...
Pretty sure I didn't card the lowest score that day.
All right.
I was gonna say, I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right. You did,
we were driving around in the woods
beat
for
me.
you a lot too.
You did beat me. But besides that, no, we appreciate that we're blessed that we have someone like you running our parts department in the time that we're in right now in the industry. So...
Well, and I think you had said it a couple weeks ago. It's not what got us here, but it's what's going to get us, you know, into the future.
What got us here won't get us there.
And that's kind of a mindset that you have to have and that's why every day is different. You got to kind of think forward and know how you can make it better. You know, it's just a fun challenge.
Yeah.
But.
To some, it's a fun challenge. That's the right attitude, and that's the right way to look at it.
Well, I mean,
to others, it's a detriment.
And we have guys that are good, and you pick up the phone, and hey, we're happy to help you. This is what you need. You ever called somebody and they go, "What do you want?"
Yeah.
Don't got it.
Need a part. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Well, can I order it? Don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
You know, but you pick up the phone. Hey, you know what? I don't know if I get that for you, but I certainly will try.
Yeah.
And that goes a long ways. Maybe you couldn't help them that time, but I guarantee they will probably call you the next time.
And people just appreciate the fact that you pick up the phone. You know how
Oh my gosh, yeah.
odd it is in 2021 for you to call somebody back or to pick up the phone? I mean, the bar has been set so low. How many times have you called somewhere, and before you even start a conversation or start the dialogue, it's, due to COVID-19, we are experiencing more than usual delays.
Yeah.
You know, you start the conversation from a point of defeat, or from the position of you know,
Making excuses.
yeah, you're making excuses right from the get-go. And obviously there's more issues and challenges than ever before, but just being able to pick up the phone and talk to someone and tell them the truth, hey, that part is going to be 6 months out. You know, but doing it in a way that doesn't make them, you know,
Right.
doesn't put them down.
And that was like the point of, we're in an on-demand world. If you're calling somebody, you expect somebody to answer the phone.
Yeah.
If you leave a message, even though they call you back, you're probably not picking up because you've already gotten a hold of somebody that did answer the phone.
Oh yeah.
Read something interesting. It was like the average person waits 4 to 6 hours to acknowledge a missed call or listen to a voicemail.
Wow.
I mean, I will go probably days without listening to a voicemail.
Yeah, on the flip side, how many unread text messages do you have?
Well, but that was the flip side, is a text is usually read and acknowledged like within minutes.
Wow.
So I know we have our texting platform was actually been extremely successful, because when you're helping multiple customers and you're tied up on the phone is difficult, whereas we can text 15 people at the same time and they feel like they're being communicated with, and they're good with that. You know, they're at their desk at work, so they're shooting a text message, and, you know, they'll get the response when they can look back down at it, versus taking 15, 20 minutes out of the day to talk to somebody on the phone. So,
And please hold while I find that.
yeah, well, and that's, I'm going to have to put you on hold and research this part for the next 20 minutes, and you probably don't want to hang out on the phone.
Yeah.
So
As
that's
opposed to just shooting a text right back.
you know, from 2006 to now, it's been completely different. It's either it went from in person on the phone to, you know, primarily digital, email, text. So that's the other part of evolving, you know, with your customers. You know, we're gaining newer, younger clientele that want different things, and that's stocking the different parts, the Wi-Fi antennas, the cell boosters, the satellite dishes. You know, everybody wants to stay connected out there, and whereas, you know, customers 15 years ago, a little bit different. So
That wasn't even an option back then.
no.
One thing that I think is really cool, talking about growth, is from a parts perspective, what I've seen is it seems like most, and maybe not all, but most parts departments are more incoming, where it's all about what are the incoming calls, the incoming leads. And one thing I've loved is I'll be sitting here and I'll see you walk out with the customer, and it's like every single day, and you're sitting down having a meeting, and it's like it's so cool to see.
Right out there
like,
selling a part on the show.
I know, and you just he's like, hey, have you seen this? It's like that's really awesome, because that is that future growth thinking, where it's like you want to not only help them get the parts they need, but what about something that they might want? What if they don't know that that's an option? I've seen you do this so many times where you're like, hey, check this out. And it's like, man, I had no idea that I could have, Wi-Fi on my coach and all these different things. And I love seeing that. I love seeing you up here all the time. Is that something you see, like, for the parts department growing in the future, is more of an outreach type platform?
And that's something that we've talked about in our goals, is like, not to just increase sales, which is a great thing, but it's like your customers here buying something, odds are they could leave with something else. So your goal is to make sure that if they come in for one, they leave with two. Or ask the questions. They're setting up their tow vehicle, so you're giving them a nice tow bar and the brackets for their vehicle and the wiring that they need. But they're towing a brand new 2021 vehicle. That do they want a tow shield for it to keep it from getting boogered up, or do we want to schedule them with 3M shield, or try to. We're the professionals in this industry, and they're going to trust what we say and support. So there's always something else that they need that maybe they don't know about it. You have a customer that comes in. The goal is to maybe help them leave with something additional that they didn't come in for. Because odds are they don't know about it, or they didn't think about it. It's silly to say, if somebody comes in to buy toilet paper, well, do you need to resupply on your toilet chemicals? What condition is your sewer hose in? Do you need a new water hose? Did you know we stock water filters? And most people, they just don't, that's not thinking. And then they'll go, oh God, we are low on that. I probably should grab some. Or somebody's coming in to talk about satellite. Do you know that they also have Wi-Fi, extenders or LTE extenders? Do you stream a lot? And that's possible when you're out by the lake. So it's understanding the industry and what's new and good, and how your customer maybe not know about it yet, that you can capture and get them excited about. And then they're going to tell 10 friends, and you're going to get people to return looking for that same product. So
no, I love that. There's a difference between selling someone an RV and helping someone buy an RV. It's the same thing with your parts department. It's not just how do we sell them as much product as we possibly can before they leave? How do we load up their cart? It's what are product that they're probably going to need that they are just not thinking of? How are we going to help them have the best experience when they show up at the campsite? They're like, oh God, this water tastes gross. Well, you didn't buy a water filter, or didn't even think about, well, my sewer hose has about 17 holes in it. But
well, the duct tape holds up.
Yeah, duct tape holds up. Hey, well, what's the condition? Well, now I think about it, it's pretty rough. Well, that could ruin your trip. So it's being able to add that value to, and ultimately the end result is that they have a great experience.
And in my experience, when you try to load somebody up, like you're trying to hit your quota of you need to sell this guy $100 worth of parts before he leaves here, is kind of negative for that customer. He's kind of feeling like, well, why do I need this? Versus it's, hey, what do you do? Where do you go camping? Do you dry camp? Do you hook up to shore power? Do you bring your water with you? Do you get your water while you're there? Do your kids like to watch TV at night? And find out what they like to do, because again, it's probably not something that they've ever heard of or thought about, but are extremely interested in once they do.
And nobody minds those questions. Nobody's like, well, why are you at? Everyone's like, oh, like you said, I have no idea that I could have that awesome, feature. And it's really, I like what you said a little bit earlier too about cars, is like when you're getting your tow car set up, nobody tells you that it's going to get obliterated by rocks if you don't put something on it. You're going to protect it.
And you're giving them the option to.
Exactly.
You're like, hey, have you considered this? Or a lot of customers are also doing this. On the flip side of it, have you ever driven into one of those places where they give you some newspaper and you're getting an oil change? And you go in for that $20 oil change that you saw the ad for, and then you come out of it $200 later. Because you're like, we're in here. Your differential fluid, and your front end fluid, and your back end fluid, and your blinker fluid, and cigarette lighter isn't working. $5 for the part, $75 for the install. 7,500,000 mile regen on the and you're like, every time, do I need it? Do I need it? I mean, if you hate your family, you won't get it, but it's up to you. I mean, I don't know.
like
Do
you have
want to
experience
die?
with that.
You're probably gonna die if you don't get this. It's $17. I'll install it now for another 10. You know, there's a difference when you have those guys trying
quite
to
the experience.
upsell you on items. It's quite the experience. Hey,
Yeah.
Dad, can you transfer money in my account? That was when I was like 16, 17. I went in for a $20 oil change. Know nothing about cars. Yeah, it's like, how many times do people do that? Hey, can you just talk to my dad? It's his car.
Yeah.
Oh,
Apparently, I don't know how I made it here.
I was this close to getting my wife, like this is years ago when we were first dating, to actually ask for blinker fluid when she got the oil change. Oh man, I almost had her. One day when I have kids, I'll get them to
But
do
the
it.
difference is, adding value and helping the customer have a good
Yeah.
experience by the product that we sell and believe in,
Yeah.
or just trying to, like you said, hit quota and sell blue sky.
What I think is neat and kind of in relationship to that oil change thing is, when you have somebody that's like, hey, Ryan, you drop your truck off and I know you're here for this, but did you know you've got this leak? And
Do you know that
we
you
can get
don't
this
have
fixed.
brakes?
Yeah, you should probably get that fixed, bud. It's going to cost this much, and you've build a relationship
Yeah.
versus the drive up, get in, get out. Let's get as much as we can out of them. One thing I think is really neat, and this is completely different than any other dealership I've been at, is the technician. Team leads are part of the check-in process. So when the customer comes in with his coach, maybe he wants his engine serviced. Well, hey, do you want us to check your brakes? How long has it been? You've got your rooftop air conditioners. Have they ever been serviced? It's not like you need this service. Is this something you want us to look at and make sure that it's not going to fail on you?
Yeah.
And I think that's really special about this place because, one, it gives you the opportunity for growth as a department, but two, it's going to ensure that your customers are actually getting the service they want because a lot of the times they don't know they need that.
Yeah.
It's a new coach to them, or they haven't been able to use it for years, and they don't know that after X amount of hours, days, or years of using a coach and what the maintenance schedule is. And I think that's really neat and unique about this place is the customer experience is extremely high.
Yeah.
And
pretty
that,
cool.
it translates to all departments, and that when that service customer has a great experience and trusts the service department, well, they're going to wander over to parts and see what we have, and maybe we can get them something. And while they're waiting for their oil change, maybe they come around and look at some new coaches, and they feel, if they buy a new coach, hey, we can bring it back here for service, and they're going to take really good care of us. So when I noticed that, I thought that was really unique and special.
Well, it's a cool thing that we have the amazing techs that we have, and to have them do that, it's a lot of, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I hear so many times of our customers that come in that have bought elsewhere, and they're essentially handed a set of keys, and they're not taught all these things that you need to check your roof once a year for the seals, and that's okay. Yeah, so here's where you turn it on. All right, we'll see you down the road. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like giving them that knowledge. I mean, all the techs are doing at that point is, hey, by the way, I don't know if you know, but this is important to think about. And that $100 that they spend diagnosing something, and that can save them $2,500 on an AC.
Right.
Amazing.
Especially on an air conditioner that's extremely difficult to get a hold of these days.
Yeah.
So
Seriously.
if we can prevent component
Sure.
failure,
Yeah.
it's going to keep them on the road nice and happy. But
Yep.
I've worked for places that are very customer supportive and others that are not. And when you have a service department that does value the customers, it does translate to the other departments. So it's just, it's valuable.
That is awesome.
Definitely. Super
So
cool.
to transition just a little bit here, we've seen the price increase quite a bit in brand new RVs. We've seen a price increase in lumber and steel and everything else. Has there been a big price increase in individual parts in your
Definitely.
world? And if so, give us an idea of percentages or examples or what you're seeing.
Well, a lot of it, steel is a big part. There's steel all throughout this coach, aluminum, lumber, yes, is expensive, kind of coming back down, but it's the plastics, it's the machinery that takes, to make all these things, the people that are molding the toilets and the sewer hoses, the and somebody I was speaking with that works for a pretty large manufacturer, he's like, the cost of, domestic labor and the materials isn't, the issue for these increases. It's the containers that we had to lease to get the product here.
Wow.
Really?
I didn't even
Has
think about that.
gone up 120%. So that's going to translate to the cost of the product. What was once a $35 sewer hose is probably now $45-$50, just
Dang.
because of, the cost of the entire process. It's not
Supply
only
chain.
personnel, but how it took to, hold that product and move it from one location to another, is also in consideration.
Wow.
When the price of fuel or, the price of the ports and everything goes up, that's translating to everything.
Wow.
So hitch prices have gone up probably 10%, plastics are 10-15%. And it's just going to continue, but from when I started till now, there's some things that have been kind of the same, but other things it's going, wow, this used to be a lot cheaper back then. And you'll have customers that bought that part maybe 10-12 years ago that go to buy it again and go, whoa, you're ripping me off. It's like, well, no, not really. But again, saving your customer as much money as you can because of buying it from the most efficient supplier is important. Are we going to be cheaper than the online retailers? Maybe not, but there's a reason why people call in and purchase the part from you, because they're getting support and the trust that they're going to get the right part, and maybe why they need that part, and that's why they're calling you versus going online.
No, that makes
Totally.
sense. That makes sense. So what? Here's an opportunity for you to share with customers here, because regardless, I mean, everything that you're saying makes total sense. There's supply chain issues. It costs more to get the product, to get it shipped, and all that. Every part of the process has been delayed, but yet customers still expect it to be within their time frame and in their price point. I mean, it just as an opportunity here for customers that are listening to it. You see it every day. All you do is sell parts in the part department, and you oversee a whole department where all they do is sell parts in the part department. So let's transition here. A normal question I'd ask is, what's one of the biggest issues you'd see facing the industry today? But I think we know what it is. It's prices and the amount of time it takes for it to get to the location. So here's an opportunity here. Share with the customer. Plead with them a little bit here. What's that whole process looking like?
Well, from the point that somebody is requesting something to the point you can actually deliver on it can vary quite a bit. If they're needing a generic part, usually you can deliver within, I call it prime delivery, 2 or 3 days.
Sure.
Your customer can get it within 2 or 3 days. Odds are you're gonna earn their business and they're gonna order it.
Sure.
A lot of people expect you to have that part on hand. Well, aren't you an RV store? Why don't you have this? Well, I mean, no store in the country has this because they're just back ordered. The customers that maybe need a component out of their coach, you have to explain that they're building that, and primary focus, unfortunately, is building coaches for dealers to sell. So a lot of the customer requested parts are going to get put on the back burner. Sometimes you can get facilities to rob out of production and get your customer on the road, especially when it's a warranty fix, but having the understanding that still we are not in that on-demand world. Next day delivery, not guaranteed.
Sure.
We can't even next day air something out of here and have it guaranteed on somebody's doorstep anymore.
Yeah.
And
Then on the flip
companies.
side, you totally surprised me, and I asked for a slide-out tray for a fifth wheel, a giant one, and you got it here next day.
Right. You know,
There's like no rhyme or
You never
reason
know.
to it.
Yeah.
You're like, really? You
But-
can't get this little tiny part to fix this one thing, but it gets me a slide-out tray with an 800-pound weight limit on it next day.
nuts.
and that's the
It's crazy.
what's hard to portray is new orders, generally, no matter who it's from, is a 4 to 6 week lead time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's shy of 4 weeks, sometimes it's in excess of 6.
Yeah.
And what you don't realize is that you're not the only person in the country trying to order this part, meaning you're talking to the supplier of the part versus distribution companies that also have hundreds of these on order. So knowing the products that are hard to get and checking distribution, because their stock refreshes daily in the morning, and you see that, well, that warehouse had 0 yesterday, but now they have 87. Now's the time to bring it in. And we have not a lot of space back there, but we brought in air conditioners because eventually they're going to need to use them, and they're not going to be available maybe when we do, so we got to
Way to be proactive.
right and bring that in. The water heaters, Dometic made a change and decided to quit producing a very popular water heater that's in 90% of the RVs out there, and went totally different, and they're not available right now. So it's like, when you find them, it's buy them up, hold on to them, because your customer's going to need one. That way, when they do need it within a day or two, you can deliver on it. But the challenge is knowing your resources and checking them often, because it changes daily.
Wow.
on that. Will we level out and catch up? I believe so. I talked to a lot of manufacturers of not RVs, but products, and they've created warehouses and bought new machinery and are planning for the future, and some aren't. And you're looking ahead, being proactive, evolving, with a growing industry, because it's not going to get any worse. We might level out for a little bit, but I feel, it's going to continue to grow, and with that, supply is going to be short because of the demand. So being as resourceful as you can is going to ensure your customer has the best experience.
Yeah.
Great.
That brings up another point that I have a lot with customers, talking about buying and holding on to product and different things like that. We have a very limited space, right? And it's, we're not a warehouse. We're not a parts warehouse. We're a multifaceted dealership, and you've only got so much space. One thing I get a lot is, can you order these parts ahead of time, and I'll be there in a couple months, and can you hang on to them, or and I've done it. Like, Brad, can you maybe get this windshield in early, and different things like that.
It has to go in your office.
Exactly. yeah. Where do you want me to put it? And that's something that we see a lot, and I understand the sentiment and why the customer wants that, because they want to get in there, get in and out in a day. They don't want to get the coach there and then wait a week for the part to get there. Totally understand it. Could you explain to our customers why that isn't always feasible, especially with big things that can get broken when we're driving forklifts around, like a windshield? But could you explain a little bit about why we typically don't do that?
Well, and that's the thing, because you said it, and this isn't just us. Most dealerships don't allocate a large amount of real estate to parts. It's you have some retail space that you can utilize as best you can and stack things up. You have to have your service parts in stock and on hand, and then you have to have your storage for your warranty customers. And when the customer comes in and you're ordering these parts, it's a 4 to 6 week lead time. Well, and usually what happens is Mr. Smith's bathroom door isn't going to keep him from using his RV, so he decides he wants to take his coach and use it for the season. Well, you're going to have to sit on this door now for months until he returns. And like you said, damage occurs because the more you handle something and move it around, the more likely it is to get dinged up. So what showed up is a nice brand new product has the ability to get damaged. So keeping parts on hand does help that. Getting the correct part the first time, like we said, helps that. So when your customer does understand that there's a little bit of lead time, like, okay, well, I can wait, we'll get it done and you can get them on the road. But storage is difficult, especially when you talk about windshields and doors, slide out mechanisms. I mean,
Couches.
These mechanisms come in boxes that are this tall by 10 feet long.
huge.
Yeah, they're massive.
Storing all of that is a challenge, and then working around it, and then moving things around, and then this falls over, and that's shattered now. So
Perfect.
Yep.
yay! But being resourceful, knowing where you can get things from, keeping the core component stuff on hand that keeps these rigs moving, and I think most people now understand that. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer deal that my trim fell off and it looks janky versus I got to get my refrigerator fixed.
Yeah.
So there's
emergency.
right,
Right.
keeping the
There's
rigs on the
cosmetic.
road and usable versus looking great.
Yeah.
Which ultimately we want to accomplish, but I think there's a pecking order now.
Yeah, there's definitely a hierarchy of needs, and having it be absolutely perfect without that scratch isn't ideal. But it's necessary to keep it running to have those parts. We see that a lot. A lot of our parts are airbags and electrical components and all kinds of different stuff. But
Totally.
yeah.
Now, where, as we kind of start wrapping up here, where, Brad, do you see the future of the RV industry going?
Onward and upward. It's just
To the
it's
moon.
evolving.
Literally.
And it's kind of generation based, and you see a lot of what was generators and awnings to electronics and solar and lithium and wireless connectivity, and everything is just evolving with the generation. So everybody's on their phone and connected, and that's where a lot of these things are, is a lot of these have wireless capabilities to where, hey, you can control your air conditioner by your phone, and that's what a lot of these suppliers will market towards. This year was disappointing is the wrong word to use, but at Expo, usually you look forward to meeting all your vendors and finding out what's new and cool, and what can we expect for 2021.
Sure.
And I would say 9 out of 10 was we did absolutely nothing.
Nothing new.
And well, really, he's like, would you want us to try and focus on something new or actually deliver on the product you need? So their focus was to keep producing all the stuff that we know and love to keep everybody moving, versus trying to be innovative and come up with something new and not focus on that. So, and those are the companies that we see the supply back in that maybe last year wasn't. So, that was really at first disappointing, but when you step back and thought about it, it was like, well, that's cool, because it's gonna keep the supply chain moving and keep us more efficient and profitable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Have you seen any improvement in that in the recent months? Have you seen an improvement in
As
being
far
able
as
to get parts?
supply and
Yeah.
yes, and then no.
Yeah, depending
It's-
on different.
A lot of
vendors.
things that are sourced, maybe out of the country can be difficult, to get a hold of, and that's kind of pandemic related as far as personnel and progress of shipping and everything like that kind of creates that lag. But even domestic stuff is a challenge, with the air conditioners and stuff, because maybe one component has to come from some special warehouse, and then that warehouse was shut down for X amount of days, which creates a bottleneck, and then that's a challenge. So
Sure.
Yeah.
but yes, some things have gotten better. like
Good.
more routinely available, which is extremely nice, and other things are not. And
Slide trays, apparently.
Yeah, slide tray.
that was the last one in
This guy can
distribution,
get one.
and it was here the next day, and showed up undamaged.
Hey,
That's amazing.
I was extremely impressed.
I was too. I was not
I was
expecting that.
not holding my breath.
I already told the customer, listen, you're probably months out on that. And I'm like, oh, got it.
Yeah,
Next
never
day.
mind.
Like, oh, perfect. There you go. With that, a manufacturer, a rep I talked to 2 days ago, on 2 factory orders we put in, said, hey, you ordered these with generators. We can't do generators right now. I have
Yeah, I
to take that
remember
off your
seeing that.
list. You go, what? He goes, yep, we can't, and there's no ETA on when we're going to get it. So I need to talk to you about it, because he said, talk to your parts manager and see if you can get 2 of them.
Dang.
I'm like, whoa.
That's pretty
So
cool.
months out on stuff. So you're right. Some things, because the generator, there's a lot of parts that make up the generator.
Yeah.
And if that, so what you're saying makes total sense, where if you're just missing one component of that, they
It's
got-
holding up the whole,
Oh, yeah,
you
holding
know,
up the whole
deal.
deal. So
And it's component, it's personnel, it's
Yeah.
there's so
Whatever.
many factors that go into why can't I get this part.
sure.
It's not that we don't want to bring it in for you. It's not that we are lazy and can't find it. It's that it's just not available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Tough.
you know, unless somebody purchased pallets of these things and had stock,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's why they are available at that avenue. But you look at the source that is supplying the product to a source that's distributing the product, and they're out, and that means that there's no supply. So
Yeah.
finding somebody that does have it on hand, and I can tell you in the last 15, 16 months is our purchasing has been not through only distribution and suppliers, but those online retailers, and paying retail for product just to get our customers on the road. And you know, that's just something you have to do. If you can
Yeah.
find that component, you're going to get it, because you know in maybe hours
It could
it's
be
not
gone.
going to be available.
Mm-hmm.
So
You know what's cool about all this, though? Like, even though prices are high, even though parts are not readily available, you know, even though all these things, it takes longer to get your RV and all that, just the human spirit right now, and the fact that there's more people than ever before RVing.
Oh, I know.
And I just was reading through a stats survey yesterday, and it's like in the millions of first-time RV buyers.
Mm-hmm.
First-time RV buyers don't have necessarily the same expectations as people
True.
who've been doing it for years. They expect to be like your car, where same day, you know, they give you the key and you drive off on the lot with it. But you know, despite that, there's people going out and wanting to RV, and this last year hit hard, and people weren't getting on planes. They weren't doing all the other stuff that they normally do. So that left, you know, getting in an RV, and instead of staying in a hotel, going at campsites and getting out and exploring, and now working from home and working from your motorhome and seeing different parts of the country. So it's just exciting to me that there's such a buzz in this industry, that it's boomed so much, that so many people want to recreate, they want to go play, and they want to have fun. Like, you just can't get them done. And there's a lot of money in the economy right now. There's a ton of money out there. Prices, inflation's high, but incomes are high. You know, people have done really, really well during this time. Some industries have suffered, and a lot of people have lost a lot through it as well. So we got to be mindful of that. But by and large, just the industry is like strong, and it's just kind of exciting to be a part of it. We're going to have hiccups. We're going to have challenges, but I think people are understanding that, because whatever their industry is, they're experiencing hiccups and challenges.
Exactly.
When I went to Chipotle the other day, and they close at 7 or whatever, and it's closed at 5, and it says, due to personnel,
Yeah.
we don't have employees, so,
Yeah.
and we don't let you serve your own chicken and beans.
No burritos for you.
No burritos for you. Everyone's experiencing issues from one source or the other, but
Yeah.
I love that there's so much buzz in the RV industry right now.
I think people
It's exciting.
are surprisingly understanding. Like, for overwhelmingly understand. No, the majority. I've
You know
had
who
it-
you are if you're not understanding.
Yeah, you know who you are.
And we know who you are. More important.
I've been amazed when, you know, I'll tell, it's 6-8 months out. Okay, cool, awesome. Well, hey, we'll take
Yeah.
it easy, go have some fun. Like, that's the attitude.
Yes.
You know, that it's just that's the attitude you need in these kind of times. I've had a lot of customers that are like that just they get it, and then it's really awesome when that happens, and then we get a part in a couple days. we're able to fulfill it. That doesn't always
Under
happen,
promise,
but
over deliver.
but you know, it's amazing when I've had so many people that are just on fire about it, and you know what, they're just excited to be out there traveling.
Yeah.
Hey, water heater doesn't work. Whatever. Gonna have some fun anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
The first
Warm outside anyway.
3 to 6 months of all of this, that was definitely not the case. I
No,
mean,
definitely not.
and it was hard to try and tell somebody, like, I can't get this for you. What do you
Yeah.
mean? You don't have this part. Well, I'll call somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
You called somewhere else.
Knowing
I
that
don't have this either.
we all network, you know, with
Yeah.
the same distributors and suppliers. So, you know, you tell them, hey, I can get it for you in a week, but it's just going to take some time.
Sure.
And then they call you back and say, you know, nobody else had it. Can I get it on order?
Yep.
Actually, they're out of stock. No, no, don't say that. But something you said is, yeah, more people are RVing now than ever. And,
Yeah.
you know, maybe even if 50% of those people thought, this is awesome, we're going to keep doing this. I mean, that's still a huge number of brand new customers. Another thing you said is people are working from home. So they have more time to get in their RV and move about and work, you know, abroad, and staying connected, you know, and having those new devices and letting them know, like, hey, Eric, I want to buy this motorhome and it has a desk and a workstation and I want to keep working. And then you go, hey, did you know that we can add this? That way you can make sure you always have your service and everything. And most of your customers are educated these days, and some of them know the product better than you do.
It is
Oh,
amazing. You're
It's
like,
it's
wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Which is not a negative thing, because like I
No.
said earlier, we learn a lot from our customers.
Yeah.
And then some need the help from you. So
Sure.
what you've learned from the actual consumer gets translated onto the next one. And that's cool. But you go camping and kids are on their bikes and everybody's laughing and having fun. And that's the great part about being in this industry, is you're selling fun. It's not always a pleasant experience when you have to come and have something fixed, but it
Yeah.
means that once it is fixed, they're going to get back out there and have a good time and,
Yeah.
you know, take a trip that they're going to remember forever, or, you know, be on the road and see family. And it's just a special thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
Very
That's awesome.
cool.
That's
I think
awesome.
that's a great point to end it.
So do you have an RV of your own?
I do. We have a little Jayco trailer, bunkhouse, and, you know, it's fun. We can load it up and head out. And the nice thing about being in Central Oregon is you're an hour away from a different destination.
Yeah.
Like,
So true.
You
Don't,
go.
don't tell people about Central Oregon, guys. It's terrible.
It's a
awful.
Don't
horrible
move
place
here.
to live.
You'll hate it.
It's awful.
It never rains
It's
here.
hot.
It's hot. It's terribly hot.
Hot. Those mountains are ugh.
No,
Right
but
there.
we
It's so beautiful.
it's fun. We didn't always RV, even
Yeah.
when I started, and I think it was probably 2013 or so. So I'd been 6-7 years, you know, working, and I've been working the wife on, hey, we need to buy an RV, and she was like, Girl Scout, like, ain't doing it. We tent camp. We're gonna tent camp, and that's all there
We're
is.
gonna dig a
Real
hole in the
camping.
dirt and sleep in that hole.
So
That's funny.
What kind of camping did you do?
we had a boat and we went out to the lake. We went camping. And my son Carson was, I think, a year and a half maybe. And just starting to kind of like walk and crawl. And I remember it being hot and in that tent, and the kid was dirty and he was screaming in the tent in the middle of the night, and it just wasn't pleasant at all. And we're driving home and she's like, so you want to trade the boat in on a trailer?
Oh,
It's like, I sure do.
Yeah, let's swing by the dealership on the way home.
It's been
That's
great
awesome.
ever since.
That's
But, you know, and then when you live the lifestyle, it's easy to sell it. You know, I have solar and I have the lithium batteries, I have the inverters. And when you tell people of like your capabilities and what you can do, and they had no idea, a lot of people are that way. They don't have any idea that you can do this stuff.
yeah.
Or, you know, hear your experience. Well, you can do it. Well, how does it work? How long does it work? And, you know, so it's fun.
That's awesome.
See, Eric, if you live the lifestyle, it's going to be easier to sell. So you need to buy one of these $800,000 RVs, because then you can really tell the customer what it's like in an $800,000 RV.
You're supporting
I just
the
need to-
economy.
Yeah.
when you
Yeah,
think
and the
about it.
dealership, right, and everything.
Don't
Yeah,
be
yeah.
selfish.
Don't
I just
be
need to sell
selfish.
like
Buy
800 more units. So if you're listening, I'm Eric Shaver. Please buy this from me. All right. Selfless plug.
That's awesome. Well, Brad, this has been an awesome time.
Yeah.
Really appreciate having you. Excited to go golfing with you again next Wednesday. Way
Yes.
too hot this week.
It's brutally hot.
But no, I love that. Yeah, you're a great culture fit for Beaver Coach Sales. You definitely have the same mentality we do, that we have faith that the industry is going to continue to go up, and that we can contribute to the overall feel of how, I mean, just the overall customer experience. You hit it right on the head. We're in the customer service industry. We just happen to sell RVs, just happen to sell parts for RVs, just happen to fix RVs. By the end of the day, we're just in the customer service industry, just trying to help people have a great experience and, get outside and explore. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
with that, everyone, thank you for listening to our show. This is Brad. Brad, how can more people get a hold of you?
They can call our phone number.
541
I have no idea what it
322
is.
2184.
He never calls.
Ask for Brad in parts. Parts Brad.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Brad, for being here. That was a great podcast.
Legend.
Thank you for having me.
Legend. Soon enough, we'll go hit the links again. But I hope you guys learned a little bit about the parts industry and how that works in the RV world. I certainly did. It's really fun to talk about and learn about where the industry is and where it's going. So thank you so much for listening. Again, I'm Eric Shaver, and this is
Ryan Kelly.
with the Wheel Estate Show, and we'll see you down the road.